Today on my way home from work, I crossed the upper Sacramento River coming out of the Delta fire. We're logging up there in the burn. Anyways, I crossed the bridge over the river and decided to stop and do some fishing. I pitched some nymphs here and there and didn't pick anything up, so I decided to put on a great big streamer pattern that I call the Haz-Mat. It's a pattern that I came up with about 15 years ago. And I made a few casts with it and didn't have much success. And about the fourth cast, I hooked onto a big one and ended up being close to 24-inch rainbow out of there. So I decided tonight that I would demonstrate how to tie that Haz-Mat fly. I'm using a Umpqua U302 hook. Start out by putting a thread on. I'm going to run it all the way to the back. Yeah, I've fished this fly from California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, and it has been successful pretty much everywhere I go. I've caught big steelhead on the Clearwater River in Idaho with it. Okay, now we got the thread back. The tail on this one is J. Fair's Leech Brown Marabou. And I tie the tail in fairly thick and fairly long, because this pattern basically imitates a sculpin. Tie in the first bunch, trim off that extra. Tie another bunch on top of that. Okay, trim off that extra. Now we're going to tie in a piece of variegated olive bunny strip that goes over the top of the tail, and it will be tied back into the front over as a back. So we'll tie this in right here. Make like 3 or 4, like 4 or 5 actually, really good stiff wraps to secure it well. And fold it back, because we'll deal with it again later. So now the body of the fly is J. Fair's Fiery Brown Long Shuck Chenille. So tie this in. Now run your thread back up to the front of the hook, or close to it. I like to stop it about right here, as I have to tie in some collar hackles. Okay, get your thread out of the way. Now as you're wrapping this chenille, to make the body to how I like it, I pull the, as I'm wrapping it, I pull the fibers that are on the chenille. I keep pulling them back so they stand up. Body will turn out fairly thick, and that's what you want. And I remember one particular trip to Idaho, I was up seeing family, and we went fishing out on the South Fork of the Clearwater, up above a little town called Kuski, and I landed 2 20-pound steelhead out of the same hole consecutively with this fly. I had a dozen of them with me, and by the time I left there, I'd sold every single one of them to people fishing there. One thing about this fly, it does use a lot of material. But it does catch big fish, so to me that's worth the extra material to put into it. Okay, we got that up to the desired point. Now I'll bring the thread back up here. Tie that in. And roll some thread back up to the eye. Okay, then trim off that little tag. And the collar hackle that I'm using is large olive Schlapen. I tie this in fairly heavy to get a good collar on it. It kind of will resemble the gill fins on a sculpin. We'll tie this in now. Same thing with this as with the chenille. As you're wrapping it, keep pulling the fibers back. My opinion on this is the thicker the better. I don't know that you could put too much of this on here for that collar. I would say that's probably enough right there. Tie this in. Now after you trim the end off, brush the material, the hackle back, and catch it in your fingers, and then wrap back the distance from the hook eye so that it lays back, the hackle will lay back over the body. Now divide it fairly equally off the top and burn each side off the side, because now we're going to bring the bunny strip back forward and tie it in. Pull the strip down fairly snug. Then tie it in well and form your head after that. And whip finish. I would definitely recommend putting several coats of head cement on this to keep it together. As when you're catching fish with this thing, it gets pretty rugged. I like to put like 3 coats. I'll just demonstrate 1 coat on it on the video. but I like to put 3 coats until it's got a good shiny head. And there it is, the Haz-Mat streamer. Thank you for watching.